Well, that's my last Coke Zero can in the house. I have to buy some more. I know. I'll do a massive upgrade. Bottle. That's right, viewers. The MVP of Teapot right here. We love Bottle in the house, don't we? I think we all do. We kind of have the same energetic personality, to be honest. And don't worry, there's going to be a special video of mine dedicated to just Bottle later today. But viewers, we're going to be reacting to the story of Garten of Banban 6, explained by Rexter. Shoutouts to you, Rexter, for allowing me to react to this video of yours. I needed to find a video that explains the story of this game because you know what? I'm not playing this game again. I'm not going to even play any of the sequels again. I'm just going to watch videos explaining the story. And I actually watched the entire playthrough of it with no commentary just to see how it ends. And it has a very confusing ending where you find the Scepter and then it reveals that the main villain is this new guy who has this weird voice. And I'm not even going to say his name because it's that awful. And all the characters are now possessed. It's a very absurd game and it has awful gameplay. I just never want to play it again. I rage quit the game, so I don't want to have anyone in the comments tell me to play it. Also, it ends with you in an elevator. Yep. Let's just get this over with. 1, 2, 3, react.
In today's video, we're going to be discussing one of the most insane chapters of Garten.
Look, showing the worst part of the game already. The puzzle I rage quit on.
Chapter 6 was definitely one of the most insane yet confusing chapters of the
I agree. It is insanely irritating.
The game was finally starting to make sense. Well, they threw a giant wrench into the production. So today's video is going to be all about covering not only the story,
they threw a wrench in my heart,
that you could possibly miss, including Easter eggs and things that are going to make this series, well, make somewhat sense. So
somewhat sense. Even Rex is like, I don't get it.
Let's go ahead and dive in. The story begins as our protagonist finally reaches the 5th floor. However,
on another elevator,
it seems that we've been accompanied by not only Sheriff Toadster, but Stinger Flynn as well. And we are here for one reason and one reason only. We need to find the pieces of the Scepter in order to save the kingdom. Sheriff Toadster even explains that he can't even imagine what's happening.
But I don't care about the kingdom because it's not Twilight's kingdom.
He says to picture it as a bunch of
Twilight Sparkle, not the Twilight movie.
Escaping with one capable of giving them peace, and that is to get the Scepter. Now, those angry animals that he's discussing are the naughty ones. And with questions whether the queen is even alive at this point, we need to get to the Scepter fast. He explains that he has a place where we can hole up, basically a safe zone. He then goes into detail that if you stay into the darkness for too long, the naughty ones will find you and kill you. So, making your way over along what looks to be a makeshift road. And
a lot of y'all told me that watching me suffer through the game was cinematic, so you know what? I'm going to make it feel cinematic by eating some cookies by watching this video.
Who put him here, who dumped him away? He explains that it was people just like our kind, meaning humans. He says that he has spent many cold nights down here, and ones that he wishes he could forget. But most importantly, that the door will activate, and this is where the Scepter is held. The only way to activate it, however, is to find 4 switches that are scattered across different sectors of the floor. So after scaling up a couple of pipes, we end up in this house-like region. In this region, it is very important that we locate
that platforming section almost destroyed me.
That's the only way we're going to be able to travel around this area. However, upon stumbling across the drone lights, we find something even more unexpected. It almost looks like an anteater style monster and wearing some type of ballerina outfit as she begins to dance closer and closer to us, eventually attacking. However,
the lighting was much more brighter on my version on Switch. I guess because the consoles have more graphics, I don't know.
And escape somewhat safely. And that's when you notice Banban is now talking to Sheriff Toadster. However, she doesn't remember who exactly entrapped her in the last chapter. And Sheriff Toadster gives her a couple hints, basically explaining that it was somebody really handsome, but he's not sure who it was either. He then instructs us to find the first switch inside of the sector off to the right-hand side of the building. And then he talks to Miss Mason, aka Banban, basically telling her to get some rest and that we'll take care of it from here. And so we begin our journey through the darkness, and in doing so, we hear some very creepy laughter. This sinister laughter can only be from one thing and one thing only. It's the naughty ones. So be very careful as we make our way through.
The naughty ones are attacking. How naughty.
If you step into the darkness for too long, well, they will attack. But after some distance, we do stumble across the introduction sector. this sector is important. It was used basically as a meeting room, and you can tell by the giant projector on the wall. However,
This is cinema.
room is used
Just kidding,
to find our
as Bottle would
first
say.
puzzle in the
But your
game.
voice works
And
stuff,
after
that's
stumbling
cinema.
upon
That's
a
really cool.
key
I
card,
like your
we
voice.
open up this giant blue door, exposing none other than Bittergiggles himself. However, it's not to be alarmed, because Bittergiggle seems to be upset with his actions in the past chapter, explaining that he doesn't know what came over him and he just wanted a good laugh. And now, he seems to want to team up with us, almost doing so in order to redeem his actions from chapter 4. And so, as he supervises us,
I am the ultimate
do a
jokester!
series of puzzles and eventually get the key to the door. Or at least that's what we thought. However, an alarm begins to set, and we need to hide back in that same blue door where Bittergiggles was. But what exactly are we hiding from? It looks like something similar to what Bittergiggles was discussing at the beginning of the chapter, when he asked, "Is it gone?"
Not very
Whatever
handsome,
it
I
is,
will
it's
say.
pretending to be Banban, and it's banging on the door in a very unfamiliar but deep voice, telling us to open up, and it seems to be
Hello,
getting
open the
more and
voice.
more upset as we don't listen. However, after some time, the creature does seem to leave us. Even though we don't see his face yet, we do unlock the very first button to unlock the Scepter. And so, with our new counterpart in Bittergiggles, we make our way back over to the safe zone. But of course, to no surprise, Sheriff Toadster doesn't seem to enjoy our choice of friendship. And to make things even worse, he now feels betrayed by us, explaining that he had a
And to make it even more worse, they don't say, sorry about the tedious puzzle.
used as bait and against the Queen's wishes. Well, she insisted that we didn't, so he decided to give us a chance, exposing his true feelings towards us. And that's when a giant slug-like monster seems to jump down from the ceilings. However, I don't believe this is one of the naughty ones. Instead, it attacks Banban, knocking her off her platform, and eventually drags her off into the shadows, which Sheriff Toadster takes full advantage of this case, becoming the hero that he always wanted
The music
to
here
be,
was so
and chases
over the
after
top,
her,
it didn't even make it
leaving us
intense.
with just Bittergiggles and of course Stinger Flynn. Making our way over to the door, you'll notice that we now have 2 green dots, meaning we're halfway there. And after a depressing monologue by Stinger Flynn, we head our way over to the next sector. This sector is
Free access to global military
Yeah,
records.
that's what I get for
Explore
trying
free
to
until
sing
13th of
to
November.
make it more interesting to show if I
Save
cared about this game,
£168 on the
which I
Google
don't.
Pixel 9 with unlimited data in the ID Mobile Black Friday event.
Honestly, these ads are more interesting than the entire game.
sector, and once upon arrival, we notice someone who looks very similar to Bittergiggles. However, they have been split in half, and it seems like the green side is basically pleading with the brown side to reattach each other. But unfortunately, the brown one doesn't seem to agree, and eventually kicks him off into the depths of
That was
the
a pretty
room.
funny
And if
moment.
we follow them down into the darkness, we'll stumble across 3 switches.
And y'all confirmed that it was
eventually,
actually
after
like
using our drone to open up each switch, we unlock the first part of the sector, which is the giant yellow door behind us. And upon opening this giant yellow door, we notice another version of Bittergiggles. This one is combined with a purple form and a brown form, and it seems to be searching for the perfect joke, however making sure to never
Again, y'all
make a
confirmed that
joke
was
about being
Creepcraft.
trapped inside
Pretty
a
cool.
kangaroo's pouch. But we have things to do, so we end up leaving him right where he is, eventually making our way back upside the stairs, and that is when we see Banban. Banban seems happy that we survived the last chapter, and he wants to help us out. So, of course, after putting together another button secretly underneath the stage, we unlock a new room, and this room seems to be filled with different whiter versions of Banban, statue-like creatures or figures that we need to move after a series of puzzles in order to unlock the red door. And of course, after some time, we do eventually unlock the door, and it exposes this tiny little slug-like creature with sharp teeth, and it goes running out. Now, what's important about this little slug is it seems to have something to pry the door open. However, that's when we notice an even bigger version of that same creature standing above the door. And Banban seems to notice as well, as he asks us if that's our friend. To which, obviously, we respond no. And of course, what would a chapter of Garten of Banban be without Banban going through an epic battle with one of the creator's main characters? And right
Wasn't
on
as cool as the
this
one in
giant
number
monster
3.
jumps down, making its way towards Banban and tackling him into the wall, knocking him unconscious. And that is when the mystery is finally solved, as this same character is the one that was talking to us through the secret video of the last chapter. He explains that we are his liberator, and even though he had warned us to stay away, We had our chance to escape the mayhem, and we didn't. And now, we're gonna suffer the consequences, or at least we thought so before Bittergiggles yells out to leave us alone, jumping on this creature's back and riding it like a horse. And it looks like he took some damage in the process. See, he looks like he's almost been knocked unconscious towards the entrance of the door. But we still have some work to do, so of course we pry open the red door, grab the purple key card, and then go check out the aftermath. And it looks worse than we could have imagined, as both Banban and Bittergiggle.
If they killed Bittergiggle, I would have been upset.
We continue
he was actually the only
throughout
cool
the
character.
sector, eventually making our way to a room filled with green light switches. And that is when Bittergiggles comes up from behind, explaining that his head hurts, and then tells us the name of that creature that we just came in contact with. He tells us his name is Sir Dadadoo, and when taking a good look at the character himself,
What kind of name is
it's
that?
basically a
Sir
giant
Dadadoo.
leech-like monster. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the main antagonist of Chapter 6. And with such a resemblance to the Naughty Ones, almost looking exactly like them, I wonder if he has some relationship with Queen Bouncelia, as she seems to be the mother. However, we'll get to that in a future video.
Oh, I guess
Moving
Sir
on,
Dadadoo
we have
forgot to buy the
another
milk, I
task at
guess.
hand, and it's very important that we complete this task in a timely-like manner. We need to get into that office inside of the sector, and the only way to do such a thing is to repair the switches inside of this room. Luckily for us, Bittergiggles has that expertise, but we need to do something even more important, and that's protect him from all of the naughty ones who are trying to attack. The good news is we know that they hate the light, so
this is
we
basically
have
like a
2
Final Fantasy
spotlights and
minigame.
one more on the ceiling.
From the
that helps
gameplay, it
to
looked
protect him.
interesting,
And
but
as
again,
he
I just raised
continues
critics, so I didn't get to this
switches,
part.
we do our best to shine
This is
a light
all
on the
new to
naughty
me.
ones, exposing them and getting them to flee in fear. Of course, Bittergiggles is pretty quick, eventually fixing the switches and allowing us into the office to press the button to activate the 3rd green light on the door back at the home base. And of course, on our way back, Bittergiggles begins to explain that he appreciates the laughter of the naughty ones, and begins reminiscing that the last time he told a joke, unfortunately everybody yelled at him, and they seemed to appreciate him. But this will
y'all
come
appreciate
into
my
play a
jokes,
little
which
bit later
I
in this
appreciate.
chapter, but let's move on for now, as it looks like we have some new visitors at the home base. And those visitors include Nab-Nab, who is now caged. Stinger Flynn is still here, and Banban seems to have recovered well. But there is one extra character that we were missing, and one that I thought would be a lot more hostile in this chapter, and that's Kitty Saurus sitting over by the door. Banban explains that we only need one more switch in order to open the door to the Scepter, and we're gonna go ahead and get to that. But first, Stinger Flynn wants to have a word with us, of course. And after giving us a nice little sob story, basically blaming everything on us for his downfall, and of course finding our child, he wants to show us one more little flashback.
Another
It seems
acid
to
trip.
take place right after the last
Is that like a running
one.
thing with
Now
these
all the
games?
monsters are
Stinger
waiting
Flynn gives
for
you
the
an
bus,
acid trip.
and that's when Stinger Flynn
It ends with
explains
an
to
elevator.
Banban that
Although
he
someone told me in
needs
the
to get
comments
back
that
to the
number
beach.
7
Even
doesn't,
though he
so
doesn't want to
that
go
might make it
there,
the best one.
That is where their destination is. However, this is where things get really strange, as a bus does eventually pull up, and Captain Fiddles almost seems compelled to get inside of it. He walks over to the door, and that's when it sucks him in, almost like an alien abduction. And this is only the beginning of these series of unfortunate events. As the characters begin
Yeah, it's
to
a book
wonder
series, a series
what
of
exactly
unfortunate
happened
events.
to Captain Fiddles, another bus comes down the road, and for whatever reason, Nab-Nab jumps into the street, getting run over by that same bus. And through all of this chaos, another bus actually comes right at us.
It was so out of
all
nowhere
the
that it was
characters waiting on the bench,
just
which
weird.
eventually ends Stinger Flynn's flashback. And of course, for whatever reason, Stinger Flynn doesn't give us any more details onto why he even showed us his flashback, but we need to go speak to Bittergiggles. Thankfully, he has a new key card for us, and he explains that Banban already made his way over to the conditioning sector, and we need to follow him. And once we arrive, you'll notice it's a giant orange room with a series of buttons all over it. This could only mean one thing, as we need to solve a puzzle.
Tedious puzzle
And eventually,
solving.
after completing it, we get into another, more familiar room. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the operation room, and we need to complete the syringe mission in order to unlock the red door. But you'll notice, even though we need to find these 8 lollipops, there seems to be 2 little monsters sitting on top of one of the operating tables. And they ask us if we've seen their father, who has more arms than us, which can only mean one thing. Their father is the syringeon himself. But of course, more on that later.
That's a
As
pretty
once
interesting design, I
completed
won't
and
lie.
Finding all 8 lollipops, it unlocks this door with a giant black hole. And with nothing
Wait,
else
black
left
hole?
to do,
From Teapot?
we jump
No way.
into said black hole. eventually opening.
Why go inside the black hole? You
area
never know where it can take you.
This
Let the black hole
area
just
is
suck you
filled
in.
with giant trees. And for the first time in a long time, we finally see some greenery. And that's when we hear Banban's voice, quickly telling us to run into the center of the trees to avoid none other than the giant Opila bird. Now, the goal of this, I guess you could say, boss fight, is to activate the electric charge system around the trees in order to shock the giant bird. But the problem is there's no batteries to activate it, and they seem to be all around the map inside of each corner. And anytime this bird sees us move, it will attack.
So even Rexter, the guy doing the voice, doesn't sound that interested in the game. I bet you in other videos he sounds way more energetic because he actually likes talking about the
game. So we can
game.
move over to the batteries. And after a series of these different distractions, we do completely find every single battery and plug them in. So now the only goal is to get the bird to attack one last time. And when it does, it gets shocked by the giant battery operation field. Thankfully, it opens the huge doors inside of this room. And, which is even better, it seems to shrink the Opila chick back to its true form. But of course, that wasn't our main mission. We do end up hitting the last button to unlock the door to the Scepter. So
right, that guy, that Bittergiggle, which was by Jack Minifold, I believe.
Banban decides to let Nab Nab out of his cage. And then on we go through the door to the Scepter. And for the first time, this is when I realized that all of the characters that tried to kill us in the past now seem to be helping us get to one solid goal. We all seem to be
I won't lie. What happens here is kind of cool.
Situation. And so the
Nab Nab turns like this amalgamation spider. Well, it's more like a kaiju, but
this is where the syringe should be, protecting it. However, he seems to be MIA at this point. And before we even get a chance to catch our breath, Nab Nab begins spamming the eject button for the Scepter, which seems to upset Bittergiggles. However, it seems to do the trick as the Scepter begins to rise from the box. But of course, as soon as we think we've completed the Scepter challenge, we notice that it's missing a piece now. And believe it or not, this is only the beginning of the worst possible outcome, as Sir Dadadoo enters the room trying to sabotage our plan and take the Scepter from us, threatening us that we need to find the piece, and explains that if we don't, he's gonna eat Kittysaurus outside. However, before he can even finish his sentence,
how do you eat a dinosaur with a cat's face?
With a giant syringe filled with germanium, making him an absolute unit of a monster.
That was a pretty cool moment. I wish you could see my reaction, but I just watched gameplay after I finished rage quitting.
Every chapter of this game, and there seems to be a naughty one chasing Banban and I as we try to escape to the elevator. However, what's even worse is that
elevator. There we go. Ends with an elevator. Holy crap!
Chasing Bittergiggles and Banban in order to escape. And as we're about to approach the elevator, of course, Bittergiggles decides that he can't come with us. He explains that he wants to stick around because they appreciate his jokes on this floor, and that this is his one chance to have a true audience, and he's going to take it. But we have no time to lose. We make our way over to the elevator with Banban, and just as we're about to escape, that is when Sir Dadadoo shows up, and he has possessed at least half of the monsters in this game. These monsters include Kittysaurus, Bittergiggles, Opila Bird, and even Banbalina, to just name a few of them.
It's a cool looking shot, don't get me wrong.
Banban and I will be a fine addition to his army.
But we had to lose the Jester, which is unfortunate.
Explaining that he wants to finish what the Queen couldn't do. But thankfully, Banban decides to hold them off.
It's 1 versus like
we
7.
Jump into the elevator. However, he gives us one last mission. Look for the surgeon. And unfortunately, that is how Garten of Banban Chapter 6 ends, leaving us on once again another cliffhanger. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a bit odd for a chapter of Garten of Banban.
Yeah, it was more than just odd. It was just boring and weird and just, yeah. But that final shot did look kind of cool, I won't lie. I was told that Garten of Banban 7 is considered the best one, and it doesn't end with an elevator, so maybe there's hope, viewers, but I'm not playing these games ever again. I want to focus on actual good games that you all want me to play and that I actually want to play. Those games were just for fun, but then they just got boring and boring. I completed the first 4, which is pretty impressive, but no, the 6th one just got way too much for me. But yeah, Thanks for I guess like explaining what happens exactly, Erexta, so that my viewers can actually witness my kind of reaction to it. But yeah, it's all cool, viewers. That's it for now. I will see you all in the next video. If you enjoyed this particular video, leave a like on it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're interested. Follow me on Instagram. And until then, stay positive, keep calm, stay safe, be incredible, and as always, Brony on. Peace.